Hey everybody, Kevin here, and I am using the Ghost with the Most Beetlejuice stamp today. This card was a request, and I thought, you know what, I've got the time, let's do it. So I am going to be swatching out all my colors, as I'm going to be showing you in my videos from now on. So for my skin tones, I'm using W3, W1, W0, and W00. I did not end up using the 2 because it was all dried up. And so I also used the YG23, YG21, and YG00. For the tongue, I used E04 and E71. The hair was YG99, YG97, YG95, YG25, YG03, and YG01. For the shirt, I used E43, E42, and E41. And the tie is YR27, YR23. The suit is R59, R39, R37, and R27. The shoes were E29, E25, and E21. And the little snake, I'm doing C9 and C3. And later on, I'm going to add to this, and I'm going to use E21 for the teeth. So first, we're going to color up our little image, and we're going to start with the skin. So we're starting with that W3. And in this video, as I go along, this is when I discover that the W2 isn't working. And then I'm like, you know what, I don't really need to use it anyway. So I'm going to be going around here, just around his hairline. So I'm going to start around his hairline, and I'm not going to go all the way down. And I'm just keeping it really nice and close to the lines right now with that W3, a little bit into the nose and then under his sleeve on his hand. So it's on his hand, but just under his sleeve is where the dark is going to be. The W2 I pulled out, and then I very quickly realized that this is dry as a chip and it's not going to work. So nope, we're not using it, and toss it to the side. So we're going to go ahead and I go to that W1 instead, and I'm going to extend the line a little further around his hairline and down into the sides of his head, down by his eye. I'm going to go into that nose again, and I'm going to go right over and kind of trace the top of his eyebrow on either side. And then we're just going to add a little bit more of that W1 throughout his forehead and just kind of extend it out a little bit more. And then we're going to move to the W0. And these are our warm grays. So the W's are our warm grays. So now I'm going to create a line right around the eye, and I'm going to bring it in beside the eye. So there is that bottom line that defines where the eye is, but not a top line. So you're going to do that just with your marker. So I've zoomed in here a little bit closer to hopefully help you out and see what I'm doing. So now I'm dragging that color into his forehead, around his cheeks, and up through his nose and around his eyes a little bit more, and then down into his hands as well. And for whatever reason, I kind of forgot he has a neck, but I do end up coloring that in. So now we're going in with the, we're in with the W0 now, the W00. So this is to get like a foundation for his skin, kind of a first layer. And now I'm going back in with that W3 around the hairline and around the eyes. And I am not certain, and I hope it doesn't pick it up in the video, but while I am doing this voiceover, the contractor just came to finish up our side awning, which was rotting and falling off, and I just started to hear sawing, so hopefully it won't pick it up in that video. So you can see here that I've gone in and darkened up around part of his eye and under his bottom like cheeks and jawline, and just bring it up around his hairline as well again, just to deepen everything up just a little bit more. Sometimes I'd like to go in a second time just to make sure I do get an even and really good saturation out of my color. And if I want the depth to come in, just because these are like a semi-opaque, so the more you lay down, kind of like the more vibrant or deeper the color is sometimes. So again, you can see here I'm going back in with my warm gray number 0, just to kind of smooth everything out, because I do like a smooth skin tone. I don't want to like when it looks blotchy where you can see the marker marks, so I really try to avoid that at all costs. So going back in here with that 0 again, or my double 0, I'm not even sure. Hopefully it was my double 0 there. And so now I'm just using my colorless blender. This isn't a Hoo colorless blender. My Copic one is dry, unfortunately, so I just grabbed this one, and I just wanted to make sure the eyes are clear. So now going in with those greens on the skin tone. So this is the YG2321 and YG00. So I'm starting with the 2-3. And I just want to kind of give him like a model, kind of textured, because he's kind of got like this moldy thing going on if you've seen the movie. And now Beetlejuice, the second movie comes out, I believe next month, I think, or is it in October? I'm not 100% sure, but I know it's soon, and I'm really excited to see it actually. So I'm just adding these greens in, trying to give him a little bit of like that creepy skin. So I'm using that YG21 now. And just kind of adding it just randomly, semi-randomly, because I did go around the eye a little bit because I know I wanted some there. And a little bit just into the corners of his eyebrows. And then the YG00, I'm just going to kind of bring in a little bit more as well. And you'll see how this kind of all blends out in the end. And it does look actually really cool in the end. Or at least I liked it. I wasn't 100% sure with how I was going to achieve this. And I just thought, you know what, let's just try splotching it in there. And then basically I'm using the 000 now to kind of smooth everything together. So I want to blend those colors in a little bit and just soften them and really get them to like meld in with that skin tone, which is a gray skin tone. So the whole thing was a little bit of an experiment here. And I think that's one thing that I think that more people should try is try experimenting with your Copics. Like I like to swatch them out. Is what I picked out kind of work. And sometimes not everything works, especially for when I'm doing it. It doesn't always work. So in the tongue, I'm going E04 on the corners and E71 in the middle here. Because I just didn't want him to have a bright tongue. I thought he's a creepy, ooky, spooky guy. So why not? So yeah, here's the E21, which I end up using for the teeth. And then I think I go ahead and I swatch that back out. Just so I know what my colors are. And this is so you know what I'm using, and so I can put it in the description box here in our YouTube channel. If you wanted to follow along or just saw a color combination that you thought looked kind of cool. So at least it's going to be here when I do use the Copics or Ohuhu. My last video was Copic, and this one is 2. My next one will probably be back to Ohuhu again. We'll see. So now we're going in with the hair. So the hair, I've decided that I wanted to kind of do in a little bit different way and not just use like one kind of set of colors. So the first one I'm doing is YG99, 97, and 95. And I'm kind of alternating where I'm putting them. I'm doing every other except at the top. I put 4 of that same green on the, I'm going to say, when you're looking at the screen on his right or his left. And I've done that 9-9, and then I'm going in with the 9-7, and I'm just doing that flicking technique that we often use in the hair, where you just kind of flick out and then just add a little bit more, and add a little bit more, and then you kind of end up with your highlight with your lighter color. Now, what I have done is left these spaces, and you're going to see, again, why I left the spaces and how I'm going to get everything to blend together in the end. So here is that 9-5 going in now, and I'm just starting to extend it further now and closer to his scalp because I've worked from the tips in. So now we're going to go in with that YG25 followed by 03 and 01. So now I'm going into the spaces where I didn't color, and I'm doing those flicking techniques just right in towards his scalp. And here I'm being a little bit more aggressive, bringing it a little further in right away. Where when I started with the 9-5, my strokes were a little bit shorter. So now we're going in with the 03, and I'm kind of filling in a little bit more. So we just keep on extending. And you'll see kind of how this all blends together as we move along. And if you see those little tiny black dots everywhere, those are kind of my reminder dots of like, hey, stick to this area or you're going to be out of the screen. So now I'm going in with that YG01. And putting in that light color just to finish off those sections. I have to say, I wasn't 100% sure how this was going to work. I had the idea in my head, but I was like, is this going to work? I don't know. And it did. So now, where I had originally started with that YG999795, I went back in, and from the bottom, I went with the YG25 and went out. So those sections that were darker kind of got the combination of both colors. And I was trying to make sure that I started to fill in all the white as well. So the YG03 I went in with as well, and I'm kind of blending that hair color in with that as well. Again, just trying to get rid of some of that white and start to really join everything and have everything look coherent and like he's got like lighter parts and darker spots. And I do apologize if during this video you can hear my dog barking, because now she's barking at the guy working at our roof. But we didn't want a leaky, broken roof that was going to fall on somebody. That would have been bad, so it needed to be fixed. So I'm just going back in here with that YG01, just kind of blending everything a little bit. I'm just making it all smooth, and you can kind of see here now that it is starting to take shape and come together. So now I'm going on with the YG97, and though I am going up from the scalp here into those lighter sections just with my YG97, which was that mid-tone from the darker greens or the darker YGs. And then we're going back in and we're doing a little bit more blending, so we're softening that up a little bit, just so nothing looks too harsh. And as we get to the end of the hair coloring here, you're going to notice that I kind of decided, I'm like, well, his hair should be kind of shaded under here. So I decided to go back in. I think I go back in a little bit later to do his hair. And I'm like, you know what? No, it needs to be a little greener under there, a little darker. But I'm zooming in for the shirt here, which is E43, E42, and E41. And yes, I fit all those colors in this tiny little spot very, very carefully. So we just lay down that E43 up at the top of the collar and up at the top of the shirt. And then we're going to go in just with that E42 right in the middle. And we're just going to use that E41 to blend it up from the light spot and just kind of blend everything in there. So I just wanted him to have a very dirty, icky looking shirt. His tie is YR27 and YR23, just two colors, super simple. It's a small space. So I start with that YR27 first, and I'm just putting it at the bottom of his tie and at the bottom of the knot of his tie. And then I'm going to use that YR23 just to fill that in. And dude, as the Copic colors dry too, you can kind of see what they look like. When we first finished coloring that face, it was still looking a little weird, but now you can see it's got that mottled, creepy texture. So now we're on to the suit, which is R59, R39, R37, and R27. And again, I start with my darkest, and I'm just kind of putting where I think it would be a little bit deeper or darker in his suit and where it's a little bit more shadowed. And then we just kind of work through our colors and add them in slowly, and then go back and blend and decide where does it need to be lighter, where does it need to be darker. So again, starting with our, you know what, I think I started with our 39, which, did I grab the R39? I don't know if I lost the R359 or what happened, or if I go in with it later, but for some reason, I'm pretty sure I just started with the R39 and went to R37 there. So we will see, because now I look at this, I'm like, wait a minute, what did I do? So I am just going around and I'm adding that color, and you can see I kind of trying to trace around those little snakes. I don't know what they were called, but if you know what those black and white snakes were called in the movie, and I know they were pretty huge, and I think they actually make a reappearance in Beetlejuice, or the second one that's coming up. But if you know what they're called, let me know in the comments, because I totally forget, or maybe they didn't even have, like, because they're not sandworm. Are they sandworms? I don't know. I think I'm getting them confused with the scary things from that movie Tremors with Reba McEntire back in the who know what year. If you know that one, you can tell me too. But yeah, so I'm just going in here with my lighter red now just to kind of fill everything in. And you can see it's kind of looking, meh, it's looking a little meh. I'm calling it meh. I was like, was I concentrating hard enough when I colored this? I don't know. Okay, so I'm going back in with that R39. Where the R59 went, I'll never know. Because apparently I wrote it down and didn't use it. So we're adding the dark back in, and where I want it a little bit deeper. And again, we're just working on getting that color saturated in his suit and making everything look good. And again, I apologize because now I'm starting to hear hammering. So first it was sawing, then it was dog barking, now it's hammering. Okay, so here I'm grabbing the Zero or a colorless blender. The Ohuhu has one with a fine tip. So this is where I'm adding kind of a highlight to his suit. So to his pants, to his jacket, his shoulder there, the inside of his breast jacket part. I don't know what you call that. But you'll see as it lightens. And that's the thing. When you use the markers too, sometimes like they take a minute or so before that color lightens up. So you're like, oh, did it take out color? Definitely it will be taking out color or dispersing it. You just got to wait for it to kind of settle in there. Next up are his shoes, which are going to be E29, E25, and E21. So I'm starting at the bottom right, and then on the right-hand side of his left shoe, or the one that's on his right. That's always confusing. Left, right, left. Your left, my left, right. I don't know. So anyway, we're going back in now with the E25, kind of blending that up. And then we're going to finish with the E21, which is our lighter color. And just to kind of blend everything together and just kind of get it to meld. Because I was just like, I just didn't want to give him black boots. I don't know why. And so we're going to go back in with our E25, which is our mid-tone, just to add a little bit dark. Now, this red color suit was the one that he was going to wear when he tried to marry Lydia. So I know he's more famous for his black and white striped suit, but I was like, well, if he's got these like worm creatures that are black and white striped, I'm like, I don't want to give him a black and white striped suit because it's not going to really show off. So these snakes things are C9 and C3, and I'm just going in with C9 on every other stripe, and I left the head part as the light one just so you can see the eye, and then I go in with the C3 just to add those in there. But yeah, I was like, can't give him a black and white striped suit with those, so I'm like, we'll go with his wedding suit. And then, okay, here you go. Here's where I'm going back in with the darker and adding just a little bit more shadow so you can get, it just gives that little bit more depth when it's got that shadow, and I'm still kind of working on it and haven't done it in this image, but I really like when there's like a really nice light piece on the edge. I know Alberto Gava does it a lot, and then Steven on our team, he does it a lot. There's just this really nice highlighted edge, so I've got to practice on that, and I kind of cheated with my, what do you call it, my Zero. And then here's where you can see where I was like, okay, let's add some of that darker so you can see. Now it's a little bit darker under his hairline there, on his chin and jawline. All right. So now I'm just testing out my Posca Pen. It's just super light. And then I'm just kind of giving, this is kind of a new highlight. I've never tried it before, but I was like, oh, I'm like, let's just try doing a little line highlight in the dot on the eye. Everybody does their highlights different. Some people do one, some do two. I just thought, you know what, let's put those highlights in. And then I thought I'd give him a tiny bit around his, on his hair, just a little bit, and then a little bit into his suit as well. And his suit and his boot, suit and boot. And just dabbed a little bit on those teeth too. So here he is all colored up, and I think he's pretty cute. All right, so I used the U-Bridge card die. So it's a die we used to have at Stamp Anything. I'm going to fight for this to either come back or have a new incarnation of it, because I used it for my Phantom of the Opera card the other day, and you know what? I was like, I kind of really like it for scene building. So here I'm using the Distress Oxides. This is the, what is that one called again? That is our Hickory Smoke. So I'm starting with Hickory Smoke. I'm using the Palm Blender brush. And I'm just giving it a really nice, getting it nice and saturated and blended in just into the bottom. And then I'm going to be moving up progressively in my colors. So the next one up is our Stormy Sky, which is a Distress Oxide. And I'm going over, and again, I'm switching brushes, just so you know. So I kind of have, there's one for the blues, one for dark, one for green. So going in with that Stormy Sky, kind of blending it through. And I'll kind of go back and forth to see what kind of blend I like. Then next up, I believe I'm using, I want to say after I do this, I think I'm grabbing Shabby Shutters. Shabby Shutters, I was right. Yeah, it's kind of like light green, but not a crisp green. And I tried to keep that a little bit more centered into this area of the middle of the card and going down, because I finish off with Scattered Straw? Yeah, Scattered Straw here, which I bring in from the outside. And then again, I'm going to kind of like smooth everything out and make sure it all looks nice and pretty and blended. I really love using the blender brushes, the palm blender brushes for bigger stuff like this. I love them. They work awesome. A lot of time, I never really use the small handheld brushes anymore, except for like really fine detail work. So here you can see I'm just trying to get my smooth on, just trying to get my blend on here. So I'm like, it's looking a little like lines in there. I'm like, what's going on? Let's fix this up. So I just kind of go back in and just want to smooth everything out here. And I just really try to get like a nice coherent background. I wasn't really thinking too much about like, oh, like what's the weather? Like what is the time of day? I was just like, is it evening? Is it daytime? Is it raining? Like who knows? So that's why I kind of have like a little bit of that yellow green, a little bit of that blue, a little bit of that dark color, because I just wasn't, I'm going to say it was very non-committable. Now I'm just coming up with new words. Non-committal on like what I wanted. Then of course we're going to get it to react with water. And I don't know, apparently waving my hand over it, I thought that was going to make it dry. So I did take it over and use the heat gun. Okay, now this die is from our Scary Town set, which was available in Color University. I'm pretty sure it is sold out, but I was glad to have it. And I decided to ink blend this as well for my foreground of my U-Bridge card. And I think this is me going off because I was like, wait a minute, I forgot inks. So I'm using ripe persimmon, and then I think carved pumpkin is what I use next. Yes. But I used my light color first. So I was like, wait, before I use this orange, I'm going to use it on the top first. So putting that lighter color, which is the carved pumpkin. Then I'm going in with ripe persimmon. I hope you can keep up with this. So now we're going with white persimmon there at the bottom, and then I do go in with remember, we'll find out what I use in a second. I'll show you on screen. Because I decided, I was like, oh, it's a little bit light. Oh, and then I used some scattered straw as well, because I was like, let's go in here and just make it a little lighter on the edges, and then I'm going to add some dark too. Okay, and I'm going to fully admit, so as we go through this card, and by the time we get to the end, I actually remade this piece, because when I go to the end of the card, you're going to see in the video that I kind of put them in the middle, which was a huge mistake, because I just covered up the entire background pieces that I had just made, because it is kind of a multi-dimensional card, and I was like, why did I just cover up everything I made? But you'll see, so I did move them over, I did remake this, but I used the same colors. The only thing I forgot to do is in this part here, I end up kind of spraying this with some distress spray. Right here, the distress spritz. I forgot to do this for the final card when I had to remake this piece, because I tore it off because I stuck them on and then I moved them. So here you can see this is kind of how I'm doing it with that layer. And then I cut this out. So this piece is from the Graveyard Builder. It came out, the Graveyard Builder set came out with the Beetlejuice set. So I cut out some little gravestones, and then here, instead of Copics, I just grabbed my Uhuhu, they were closer, and I'm just adding some color just to kind of get this colored cardstock to look a little old and gravestone-y. I don't know. So this, I'm just, here we're just popping up with new words. Gravestone-y, sure, we'll work with it. So, and it was just like, I don't know how many I was going to use. I usually don't ever use anything like 4. I want an odd number, so I went ahead with 3. I'm kind of picky with that because I always think it looks weird. So here we kind of had that gray, green, orangey look to that little headstone or gravestone there. And then here it was just, all this was just like practice and play. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. I'm like, what's this going to turn out? I have no idea. And I did use some Zero, the colorless blender, to kind of like blend some of these colors too. But I thought, I'm like, you know what? This actually kind of works. So I did end up happy with it. And apparently that one I thought it needed a little more gray. And then the colorless blender in there again. And I just did the same thing here with this last one, and that fourth red one, I don't think I even touched it. I was like, you know what? No, I don't need it. Actually, that's a lie. I ended up using it. You're going to see why. Actually, you're going to see what I ended up doing because I totally forgot. But yes, I do end up using it, and you will see how and why in the end of this project. So now I'm just kind of coloring the edges. So, okay, so the reason I did this video today too, or for you whenever I decide to post it, is Kim Hodges from, I believe it is Scrap Geek, said, hey, I'm doing a thing with Dana, who I'm friends with. Yeah, so it's Scrap Geek on Facebook, and Dana is Hey Kid, and they're doing a crop in October that is Beetlejuice themed. She's like, do you want to do something? I'm like, sure, I'll throw a video together because why not? I'm like, it's fun. And I'll create more. So here you can see I just cut that out on brown, added some black just to kind of give it a little texture. Do you see it? I don't know. Cleaning off my space here. I love the tonic glass mat. Okay, so this piece is meant to go in here. Here is what I learned that drove me insane and I ended up fixing. I use a double-sided tape, but because I used the Distress ink, the double-sided tape did not want to stick to the Distress ink and actually just tore it off the paper. So here you can see I wrote Beetlejuice, and I tried to do like a skull and crossbones. So the tree part went on the back, then the Beetlejuice one, then there's a foreground layer, or like a mid layer, which that red tombstone went on, and then I put the this Scary Town Builder Die piece that I had cut out up in the front. Again, just use glue like I did here. It was just such a disaster. And this one I ended up ripping off anyway. Then I played around some pieces and I was like, where does he go? Here you can see I'm popped outing him, and then I put him on the middle of the card. Big mistake. And then, so just in a moment, you're going to see that in the end with this card, I put him off to the side after I redid it. And I did add this little spiderweb part and then drew some stuff and added some little bats, which are actually from the Monster Mash set. So here we go, the ghost with the most. I hope you enjoyed my card in this video. See you next time.